Welcome back to the MyLatinLife Podcast. Since 2014, MyLatinLife has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Passport Papi. You've probably seen him on Instagram, where he has over 200,000 followers, talking about all things Latin America travel, being a digital nomad, and being a Passport Papi. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one that's been requested for sure. People send me your videos all the time. You know, they'll send me your reels. So one thing I respect about your reels is the consistency. It's like you've done it over and over again, where you're getting these reels. They get 10,000 likes and stuff. What's the secret?
The secret sauce? Yeah. There's really no secret. I guess a formula that some people have been replicating, and you can go ahead and replicate it yourself, is just go ahead and narrate what you see. I simply narrate what I see, and I speak in a way that not only English speakers understand, but people that are learning English. People are like, why do you talk like that? You talk like each individual word is a separate sentence. Well, a lot of my 34% Brazilian, 15% Argentinian. They're not all English speakers. They're not born as English speakers. They're still learning English, a lot of them. So speak clearly and just be honest with what you see.
Uh-huh. So you're finding there's a lot of locals in the audience that are curious in a gringo's perspective on their country?
I'd say at least half of my followers are locals to the cities that I visit. They are intrigued by what a foreigner has to say, has to think, has to feel about their home.
And I'm sure the people want to know, what is your background? Where are you from originally?
Yeah. I'm from the United States of America, born and raised, and my family. So one half of my family is Cuban, and the other half is Iranian. So I grew up in a pretty
Cuban,
mixed
Iranian.
environment, very outlawed in terms of relations with those countries, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of sanctioned lists.
A very much sanctioned family. What? No. I know they're all in the States, though. They came a while ago.
Okay, and what state or city do you rep?
Yeah, Texas. I split my time between Texas and Florida, but technically, Texan. But I spend time in Miami and various parts of Texas. Love both of those states pretty much equally. But yeah, have you been
To Texas? Yeah.
To Texas?
Yeah, I've been to Texas.
Nice people, right?
It's a good state. And now you're in Buenos Aires at the moment, at the time of this recording. People can't see you. I can see you, though. You have a sort of Argentine toupee, and you're drinking a red wine. What's it called?
Malbec. This is called a boina. It's what the gauchos wear, the Argentinian cowboys.
I figured it would be a gaucho thing. A boina?
Yeah.
How do you even spell that?
Look up Pampero. I'll go ahead. I'll shoot you.
P-O-Y-N-A.
Pampero gave it to me. It's like what a painter wears, right? It originates
like the word
from
for beret or beret.
Yeah, along those lines.
Nice. So I guess you've kind of mostly become famous for your videos in the Southern Cone, right? It's like Paraguay, Bolivia, Southern Brazil, Argentina. That's Peru, right? That's kind of been your major area of focus. How long have you been making videos since? How did this all kind of kick off?
Yeah, good question. So I started this page a year and a half ago, and it started in Europe on a trip to Europe with my buddies. And I was just in Europe, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna post whatever I want, whatever I feel. I'm just gonna post it. I don't care how hot, if it's a hot take. I don't really care if it won't be received well, I'm just going to put stuff out there and see what happens. So I was in Madrid, Spain, and I saw they were cleaning the streets. I saw how clean it was. I saw how, civil it felt. And I was like, you know what? Why doesn't the United States feel like this right now? Why don't we clean the streets in Austin, Texas the same way? Why don't we have as much public order as this tourist area has? Maybe all of Madrid isn't like this, but I was in a tourist area and it felt really great. Felt great. So I posted a video of a guy cleaning a street and then wrote, the format, the passport Papy format, some statement, and it blew up. And I was like, okay, that one stuck. So then I did another in Europe and then another. And by the time I left Europe, I had, 2,000 followers from just starting it. And then I went to Brazil. And that's when things really started to take off, because the Brazilians, they're incredibly active on social media. If you look at the WhatsApp stats, if you look at the Instagram stats, what Meta says about Brazil, they are the most engaged country in the world. So posting videos in Brazil, I sort of modified the style and I did more narration, and it blew up because a lot of people outside of Brazil don't know too much about Brazil. They want to learn more about Brazil. And a lot of people within Brazil love to engage with content about Brazil. So it really took off from there. And since then, I've been hitting countries, Argentina, going back to Europe, to Italy. In the United States, I blow up there, my own country, just taking the same formula, the same format of narration. Yeah,
I just blow up everywhere I go.
I mean, maybe it's a talent, a God-given talent, but it's definitely something people can replicate themselves.
Oh man, I have so many questions. There's a lot of interesting pieces there, but within even like the core, like every digital nomad that I follow on Instagram follows you. Like you've definitely hit a chord with, like, I guess, American men as well. Digital nomads, expats, like they all follow you.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, but it's like one platform really. Like you do you get a little bit of Twitter going, which I think will work well.
I just started posting on that. Yeah.
So Twitter's your first foray outside of Instagram?
No, I have a TikTok too. I just don't post on TikTok as much. I don't know why. And TikTok bans videos, and I always have to say, oh no, it's not, there's nothing wrong in this video. And they're like, okay, yeah. Even though TikTok does pay you, I haven't focused on TikTok. I will be focusing more on TikTok in this upcoming year.
Fair. I guess it's easy enough to just upload it there too, because it's like the same type of format.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of have a blind spot to TikTok, but the question I was going to ask was, and when did you start showing your face? Like, have you been doing that since the beginning, or I feel like you did it faceless for a while and then said, fuck it, or how did that work?
Yeah, good question. It depends on what country I'm in. If I'm in Brazil, I won't show my face, because in Brazil, they have a perspective of what the gringo looks like, and my face doesn't match my voice for them. When I'm in the United States, I show my face. My videos with my face do incredibly well, because people in the United States, they have a perception of people that are Americans. We're very diverse, but it's not always that way in other countries. In Brazil, they have a very specific idea of what a gringo should look like. In the United States, we have a more broad perception. In Argentina, I show my face because they have a very broad perspective of what a gringo could, a shanky is what they say here, what they should look like. So it depends on what country I'm in.
This episode of the MyLatinLife Podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. Yeah, that makes sense. Who's the guy, what's his name, Dane? The Brazil Instagram guy? You know what I'm talking about? What's his handle?
Steven?
His name's Steven?
Steven, the one that you were
No, not
introducing.
Steven's story. I was going to ask about that at some point too. So I guess might as well ask now. So Steven's story, friend of the podcast. Most people on Twitter know him. I noticed you guys got to meet up. You went to a football game. Yeah.
I actually visited him in Salvador. Funny enough, I was introduced to him via your podcast. So before I even went to Brazil, before I even started Passport Papy, when I was in Colombia at the time, I listened to the podcast. I loved the podcast with him. I was like, this guy, he sounds like the kind of guy that I should reach out to. He seems like someone that I could befriend. So I reached out to him with some, telling him that, hey, I really liked your podcast and everything. Loved your interview. And then sort of just kicked it off from there, stayed in contact over 2 years. And he was incredibly friendly and nice to me before I even went to Brazil, before I was even Passport Papy. So then now, I got to give thanks to Steven for, giving me the time of day. Now that I'm Passport Papy, and he got to see me from before I even started the page and saw the whole thing grow. He was one of the first followers of Passport Papy.
That's cool.
Yeah. And who's this Dane guy?
No, so I found it. I'm thinking of the gringo in Brazil, Regan Zanes. You've definitely seen this guy.
The gringo in Brazil.
Here, I'll put it to the
Can you
screen.
show me?
Dude, you must.
There's a couple. Oh yeah, I've seen him around. I don't know him personally, and I've never spoken to him, but I've seen a video or two from him. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like the classic gringo look, like blonde and everything.
Yeah. So that's what the Brazilians expect to see.
So you just do what works, but you've had no qualms or nervousness about putting your face out there?
It depends on where I'm at. In Mexico, incredibly cautious there. Brazil, depending on the city, cautious.
Yeah, but I mean, if you post the videos like after you leave the country, it's fine, I guess. Or
yeah, it is fine.
There's a lot of people struggle with this in like the travel vlogger world. Like, should I make it like a personality brand? Should I use my real name? Should I use a fake name? Should I show my face? All this stuff. But you've kind of done it in a way where you like you don't necessarily have to show your face.
Yeah, that's ideal. And a lot of guys get tripped up on this. And I had a guy, he was like, oh, I want to start a page, a buddy of mine. I'm like, yeah, do this, this, and that. He's posting selfies of himself. He's posting pictures of himself. I'm like, no one cares about what you look like. Are you a beautiful woman? Are you here to display your body? Okay. No, you're here to share other countries. You're here to share the experience. You're here to share the culture. You're not here to show yourself. No one cares what you look like at the end of the day as a man. It's different for women, right? Women, you can be a pretty girl. You're here, you're a pretty girl. Everyone wants to see that. But as a man, it matters more about what experience you're sharing, less about your identity as a man. So I show my face sometimes, but that's not the focus. The focus is always the experience. And I stick to that.
I can't believe you've only been doing it for a year and a half. How long have you been sort of nomadic for?
Oof. Coming on to like 5 years. 5, 6 years. Yeah.
Like pre-pandemic?
Actually post. What are we? We're coming on to. We're gonna be 6 years in a little bit. So 5 years. Yeah.
That's cool. I just it's really interesting how it's almost like observational content, and people love these like comparisons, and they love this sort of perspective and the style that you do it. It's like I've had all these observations, but I don't know how you like capture it so well. Like, make a video about like the speed bumps and like how the speed bumps are different and things like that.
Yeah. Thanks. I definitely want to spread the message, and I see people making videos like this where they're making the passport Papi style videos, and it's working for them. I mean, they'll never be like me. I'm the original. That's why I feel a zero threat by anyone who does this. And put your own twist to it. The world needs more real voices. We need more influencers. A big reason why I started this page, Vance, is because I could not watch what it actually feels like to go to these places. Everyone's always trying to sell you something. Everyone's trying to
That's what
make
you're
it look better than it
capturing
is.
what it really feels like.
Exactly.
It is hard
And
to capture.
that's part of why it blew up. That's one of the reasons. And I have changed travel influencing. There's more people that are being more honest, and that's good. We need that. We need to see what it's actually like. So I'm pretty happy with how the community reacts, and I hope to see more people posting their perspectives, because it's not just me. Everyone's different. I could have an opinion, and you could have the completely opposite opinion. So it's good to have everyone's opinions out there, regardless if you agree with it or not.
Okay, I got a couple. Actually, no, I had some funny questions, but before we do that, a more serious question is, what is your overall message in general? Like, what do you want to communicate to people? Or is it something that you want to communicate to Americans specifically about, how, there's different ways things work in the rest of the world? Or what is it that you're like trying to communicate to people?
Yeah, that's a great question. This page started because I wanted to share the real gringo experience. So the communication ultimately is transparency. What is it actually going to be like if you go to Brazil? What is it actually going to be like if you go to Colombia and you stay in a certain neighborhood and you're walking around? What do you actually see? So first and foremost, it's for my fellow Americans, right? I love my country. I love Americans. And I made this page in it for them primarily. But also there's over time, there's been other, you know, there's been other side quests, or there's been other things that have been happening. I've noticed that my videos have gained the attention of politicians in the cities that I go to. So now we have a lot of political attention, a lot of attention from the business leaders of the cities that I go to, and then that's directly involved with the citizens of the locals themselves. So I try to use my voice to help with outside perspectives, and also helping not just Americans learn about the places they go to, but helping the locals look at themselves on a global scale. Because a lot of people that in these cities that I visit, they sort of get tunnel vision into, okay, this is how our country is, this is how it is. But no one really comes from the outside and says, oh, well, maybe it's a little dangerous here. Actually, this is actually super beautiful and clean here. You guys should be proud of this, the good and the bad. So sharing the real gringo experience hasn't just been what it initially intended to be, which was to inform Americans. It has turned into something that has informed everyone, including the locals.
And why is that important to you to like show the reality? Do you feel like there was a big discrepancy or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Showing the reality is important. I mean, because it's the reality. You don't want people to live in la la land, right? And also, I feel like the Americas has underperformed, especially South America. they've underperformed. They haven't hit the mark that they were supposed to hit. Countries like Brazil, Argentina, they were supposed to be, and well, we're talking about in terms of GDP per capita. They were supposed to be up there with us, up there with Canada, right? Where are they now? The GDP per capita of Brazil is 1/10 of that of the United States. The GDP per capita of Argentina is, I think, right today, maybe 1/7, 1/8. These are countries that are incredibly advanced. They have all the technology. They have everything. They just didn't really, they never woke up, right? That's part of it. There's not one easy answer to this, but a big problem with it is they were a little too isolated in how they were governing themselves, how they viewed themselves on the global scale. And since the world is more connected now, people are able to go visit places easier. So being more connected is actually a positive. You get to see, okay, well, maybe this part of my country isn't that good. This part of my country is good in the eyes of an outsider. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take what I say with any weight. But ultimately, a lot of people do take it with some weight, especially these politicians, these business leaders. And I want the best for the future of Latin America. I think that the potential, of course, everyone looks at it always. The potential is huge, but continuous underperforming. And that could change in the near future. We've seen some success stories, like Uruguay is overperforming in the region. I'm not 100% on board with everything that goes on politically in Latin America, but there are some countries that are making changes and seeing positive outcomes.
And remind me, you work remote for a U.S. company or something, or what do you do to make money online?
Yeah, so I work as a data analyst, and I have clients. And since Passport Papi began, I have leveraged the platform and also my personal connections and vetting skills to help connect people to lawyers across Latin America, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina especially. And also in doing some investments as well. And we're going to make some more announcements on that. So yeah, go ahead and follow the page. I make announcements very frequently.
Okay, so you started as a data analyst.
Yeah.
You're doing spreadsheets or Tableau or Python or something. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you want to communicate to Americans that are maybe in a similar situation, but maybe they haven't taken the leap into being a digital nomad? Or if you could sort of talk to the average American office worker who's never had this adventure, what do you try to communicate to them? Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information.
Yeah, that's a profound question. It really just depends on what you like. There's nothing wrong with being the homebody. There's nothing wrong with being the guy that doesn't like to travel. You don't have to like to travel. Actually, I don't like traveling. I hate going to the airport. I hate trying to understand a new neighborhood. It's frustrating, right? So first of all, there's nothing wrong with being the guy that's in the United States. Now, there is something wrong with being the guy that's not moving forward in your life, that's not improving. And I think travel does really help a man improve. It helps you become more cultured. It helps you learn new lessons. So for someone that is considering traveling full time, whether you're remote, whether you're looking for a remote gig, just always try to improve and put yourself into situations where you're being challenged. And in the United States, you can start by just moving to a new city, moving to one of the big cities, move to New York City, move to Miami, move to Austin, Texas. That's the first step. And then from there, you can, start to venture off into the world, right? But yeah, that's one of my main messages is it's okay not to travel.
Sure. I'm sure a lot of people are itching to travel or for the adventure. There must be, in your opinion, some things that Latin America does better than the US, and keeps you drawn to the region.
Yeah, there's several things actually. One of the main reasons that I'm not in the United States as much is the food. Listen, I love my country. I go back, and when I go back, I have a great time. I believe that the United States has, I mean, I'm biased because I'm from there. We have the best people, the hardest working people, the most cultured people. I mean, I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but we are the world all in one country, right? I mean, just look at any one of my friends. I have a super diverse group of friends from all over the world. But I can't live there full time because I like to eat bread. I like to drink soda. I like to drink alcohol. I like to go to restaurants all the time. In the United States, our food, the food processes, the industrial food complex, as you could put it, it's incredibly corrupt, and we're quite literally being poisoned, right? We have ingredients that are outlawed in Europe. We have ingredients that are outlawed in Brazil. So when I leave the United States, I immediately feel better. I call it the American bloat. So whenever I go to the United States, I gain 7 pounds, or I guess we do kilos now. I gain about 4 kilos, right? Just not even fat, just bloat. And then I leave and I lose those 7 pounds. No matter what I do in the United States, if I maybe am paranoid about cooking, which I'm not, yeah, maybe I could avoid it. But I like to go out and eat. So that's the main reason why I'm not in the United States all the time. And that's why I like Latin America. That's why I like going to Europe, because I get to eat out without worrying about, oh, is there red 40 in my food? Is this high fructose corn syrup? Is this gluten a different type of gluten than what I'm supposed to be consuming right now? Right? All these little things that you don't really think about, that I hate thinking about. So I get to not think when I eat in Argentina or Brazil or Spain, right? Maybe as a Canadian, you feel a little differently. You guys have better laws regarding that, but in the United States, it's a big problem.
No, yeah, it's brutal. It's even worse in Canada because
really,
like everything's imported.
I thought, well, there's some things. I saw that your Fruit Loops use real coloring. So that's cool.
I mean, but yeah, not too many. I like, most things are imported, right? Like you want avocados and all this stuff. Like it's on a shipping container versus, at least in Texas, some stuff maybe gets trucked over from Mexico and it's a bit fresher. Who knows?
Haven't thought about that. You guys can't really grow too much. Not really. You guys are vertically, what's it called? Longitudinally challenged.
Yeah. So maybe another one, especially for someone from Texas, is the walkability.
Glad you mentioned that. Well, you could. When I go back to the United States, I live in neighborhoods that I can walk in. When I'm in Miami Beach, walkable. New York City, walkable. Even Austin, Texas, you can make it walkable. But yeah, it's a lot more expensive, I'd say, in the United States to live in a walkable area as opposed to in other countries. It's just a given. You can be a normal person and live in a walkable area. In the United States, if you want to live in a walkable area, either you have to live in the hood or you have to live in the most expensive neighborhood in town. There's really not much in between. You can't be a normal person and live in a walkable neighborhood. You're going to have to go back to the suburbs, pal. You can't live in a normal, you can't live in a walkable neighborhood. It's much easier to live in a walkable neighborhood, much more accessible in other countries. Even though people will say, oh, but you get dollars. Okay. Even if I didn't earn in dollars, I'd still live in a walkable neighborhood here. Right? So that's a good point that you brought up. the walkability is more accessible than in the United States, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because yeah, it's like because in Latin America, the whole city is walkable because they have like these nodes, right? And they have their church and their mercado and all this stuff. Whereas, the US cities don't really have the nodes of walkability.
That's so true. The third place culture,
Is
which we probably,
Argentina your favorite country down there?
I try not to pick favorites. Every country has their every country has their pros and cons, but Argentina is very familiar to Americans. This was populated by primarily Europeans, Levantines, people from the, you know,
Hmm.
a lot of different countries around the Mediterranean. It feels very much Mediterranean. And I'm like a Mediterranean background, so I like Argentina. I fit in, and the culture is similar to the United States in a lot of ways. They like rap music, they like rock music, they like to eat French fries, they like meat, they have their own cowboy, they're gauchos, Argentinian cowboys. So it's a very familiar place um, for me. The most in Latin America, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. One style of video that you have that I like is you say like it's like a random street in Argentina or a random Tuesday, in rural Argentina, that kind of thing.
3:49 p.m.
At 3:49 p.m. You kind of invented this format, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. We're always pioneering formats. Anyone listening to this show, feel free to use my formats. Just don't try to copy me. Copy me. I saw like a guy recently. He was like changed his name to the Passport Papi, and he's like messaging people. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, I'm nice, but you're being kind of. But then I see other people. They use my format, and they recognize that it's my format, and that's cool. And that's good. I want people to start posting stuff like that because I myself am curious what a random street in a city I've never been to will look like. I would love to see a Passport Papi in a city that I haven't been to yet. That's why I made this page, is because I want to see more Passport Papis. Just don't say you're the Passport Papi. If you're Passport Papi from Canada, Passport Papi Canada or something, right?
And you're using iPhone
Yeah, yeah,
to
just
capture the
iPhone.
videos. And okay, I got a funny question. So, do you delete ones if they don't pop off? Like maybe you make an observation and you like think it's smart, but it doesn't hit or something, or do you just do you pretty much leave everything up?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends. If it really doesn't hit, then I'll archive it and then maybe post it later. That's happened maybe once or twice. I'll archive things. Maybe I post something that wasn't well received, right? Because there is a balance here. You want to speak your mind, but you also need to keep a filter. You need to be polite. You need to be, because you're in someone else's country, you can't really say whatever comes to your mind. If everyone said exactly what was on their mind, you know, I'd be fine with that, but a lot of people won't be fine with that. So, I've had to like maybe archive a video or two because people were like, "Hey, that's," like one of my first videos that I had to archive. I was at a party in Brazil, and like one of my French buddies, he was holding a fake AK-47, and I was like, "What did they do to you in Brazil?" And I had my video camera. I was like, "What did they do to you? Look what they did to this French guy." Like he was holding like what appeared to be like a real firearm in a favela. And then I posted that, and a lot of it went like they went insane. They were like, "Hey, don't post that! Like that's illegal or something." There's a lot of laws in Brazil. Actually, you got to be careful what you post online. You can go to actual jail for hurting someone's feelings there. So I was like, okay, I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I don't want to get my French friend in trouble. This was just supposed to be a joke. So I took it down. Stuff like that.
Didn't you also recently have one where you went to like an elite party in Brazil and they told you to take it down?
Legally cannot speak of this. Yeah, I went to a few elite parties. I went to a few, and yeah, I go to elite parties everywhere. As someone, yeah, I go to elite parties in Mexico. I go to elite parties in Lisbon. I go to elite parties in Spain, Italy, United States. The elites. There's something the elites like is influence, right? So of course they would like me. And yeah, I got to befriend the elites in Brazil. Still friends with a lot of them. Some of them no. And yeah, I think Brazil has a lot of reconciliation to do with how their elites perceive the rest of the world and themselves. It's one of the yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
What's the secret for breaking into the elite in a LATAM country?
Well, they're very closed. These are people that were raised in the same circle their entire life. Their community knows their last name. They're in the same circle as the governors, as the mayors, as the senators, as the business moguls. To enter these circles, it's very closed off. You can't just be anyone. So the secret is fast track, be an influencer, right? Influence does open a lot of doors. And I've been incredibly blessed to experience and meet people of all, in all these countries that are the elites of their country. You can't just be anyone and enter it. Even if you're a rich American, a lot of Americans think, "Oh, I'm a white American with a lot of money. I can go and enter this country and I'll be the best person here." No, it does not work like that. At the end of the day, you need to know someone within that circle to bring you in. And unless you have like that person to introduce you, then it's not going to happen. And I don't really see that many gringos, mixing with the elites of these neighborhoods because they're actually very closed off, especially in Brazil, especially in places like Mexico. They're very closed
Because
they have
and so and I'll provide some context here. Like think about it, in the US, people will just go to like a meetup and be like, "Yeah, we're doing 5 million in revenue, blah blah blah," and just like talk shop. You can't really do that in a lot of places in Latin America. You can't just go to a meetup in Brazil and be like, "Yeah, we're doing 5 million revenue, blah blah blah," because it might bring you harm, So
Oh, well, yeah, it depends on who you're talking to about that. But yeah, you don't want to just
it's
blabber about
risky.
money there.
It's risky,
Yeah.
Just like talk like so they're less people are definitely a lot less open about wealth for one thing, or they do
Yeah.
flex it sometimes, but in like a certain Latino way. But yeah, it's like
Latino way.
yeah, but they don't just I don't
Yeah,
know they don't
that's true.
you know what I mean? It's a whole different relationship.
Yeah, that's one thing that I love about the United States is it's really easy to make connections in my country. It is incredibly easy. Like when you're in Austin, Texas, it's really, really easy to make real friends, good friends. When you go to Rio de Janeiro, it's incredibly difficult to make real friends in Zona Sul. When you go to Mexico City, it's kind of difficult to make real friends in the wealthier areas like Polanco. Even in Buenos Aires, it's incredibly difficult to make real friends with porteños. It's just not their culture, and this stems from Europe too. Europe is like that as well. When I was in Italy, Italy was actually really closed off. You got to know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy to get in with Italy, right? Yeah, it's just the culture, and it's shared among not just Latin America. It's also in Europe as well. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Europeans, they can be very closed off as well. They don't really want to do business with people they don't know. Whereas in the United States, it's so easy. I can just walk into any meetup, meet a potential business partner. We could work together for a few years. There's a lot of trust there. There's a lot of confidence. There's more trust. There's more trust. I'd put it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes a conscious effort, and I think it's people would have the tendency where when they first get to Latin America, they haven't understood the social hierarchies yet, and that's a cool theme that you explore in your videos is sort of unraveling that and explaining it to an American audience where things work a bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to open their eyes. And a lot of it is just, they got to learn themselves. I can tell you all I can about these things. You won't even listen to me. You have to make your own mistakes. You have to learn it yourself. All right. So I try to put it out there, whether or not people hate on it or not. I don't really care. Some people listen, a lot of people don't, and they discover themselves. And that's part of the process of Latin America is learning from your mistakes.
Do you feel like the original motivations that you had to go to Latin America are different than they are, 5 years later? Maybe I'm guessing it was maybe originally
Oh
dating
yeah.
and maybe low cost of living, and maybe that's changed to other priorities.
Well, let's turn back the clock back to My Latin Life 2017. I was just a young little lad daydreaming about Latin America. I came across MyLatinLife.com, and I like the detail in every city. Like, oh, this city has good food. This city had this and that, and it was real. It said the good and the bad, and it was just blunt about it.
Hmm.
Latin Life actually did your website actually did shape, I guess, Passport Papi in a way where it was a reality check. It's like, yeah, the girls here are pretty. It's an 8 out of 10 prettiness, right? The food here is not good. It's a 6 out of 10 food, right? So when I was going through my Latin life, and I was thinking, man, and dating back when I was living in a city that was just terrible for dating. I was like, dang, I saw these I saw these Mexican guys with like really beautiful girls, and I was like, this random Mexican guy has like a 10 out of 10
Mhm.
girlfriend, and I'm standing here. I'm going to the gym all the time. I'm making, I'm in college, I'm trying to get better in life. And this random guy that doesn't have any degree, overweight, he has a 10 out of 10 girlfriend. What is it like down there in Latin America? So initially, when I went to Latin America, it wasn't all dating, but a lot of it was food. It was the walkability, but also dating was a part of it. Was you can get a beautiful girlfriend in Latin America. Not as easy as you think. Not as it's not as simple as you think. A lot of guys think they can just go to Colombia, pull up, and they have a wife, and then if they're lucky, they wake up with just their bank account gone, right? Or they get used for something. You really need to have a real connection with someone to develop a relationship with them. But I would say that there are more opportunities um, for dating beautiful women, depending on the Latin American country you're in, for sure. And that was one of the things that was on my mind, 100%. It wasn't the only thing, but it was one of the things.
And as you've experienced that for a couple of years, how has your thinking kind of changed on that?
Yeah, I've been a very lucky man. Um, yeah, I still feel the same way. I don't really. I try to avoid relationships with American women. I Europe is all right. Latin America is all right. We haven't done the Middle East yet. I don't know what that would be like, but yeah, I definitely feel similar to how I initially felt. Dating in Latin America is definitely a blessing. And Latino men are blessed. They don't know how blessed they are. And I tell them this all the time. You are incredibly blessed to have Latino women. And they take it for granted. You go to Colombia, I'm like, the paisas, wow, mucha suerte, hermano, mucha suerte. Brazil, even Argentina, yeah, all these countries. But it's not just the dating, it's the lifestyle. And that's a big part of my page is the lifestyle of someone that lives in Latin America. When you walk out of your house, what do you see? How do you feel when you wake up? Like, how do you feel after eating something? How do you feel after interacting with the people on the street? People never talk about that. How do you feel after interacting with the people? How do you feel after 3 months of interaction with these people? A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go to Rio and I love Rio. They go to Rio for 1 week. I love Rio. It's the best city in the world. Well, have you lived in Rio? Oh, yeah, I was there for a month and then I come back, and I spend a month there and I go, yeah, well, that's perfect. But have you tried spending 8 months there in a row? No. Do you have any like profound relationships with people that live there that aren't women? Or just, like, do you have any guy friends? No. So it really matters. Like the whole lifestyle experience matters, not just the dating, not just the partying. It's like, okay, the people you meet on the streets, are they well-intentioned? The guys, can you befriend the guys there? That's a big thing. Can you make guy friends where you're living that aren't gringos? That's a big thing for me. And that's something that I'm starting to not even starting. I've always been like this. It's important to make friends that are guys. Don't just go down to date. Make guy friends. It's going to make your life better. So yeah, it's just the whole lifestyle experience. Don't hyper focus on any one thing.
Right. So the cafe culture, I like how you say like how you feel throughout the week. You feel energized in Latin America, and I think that's what you're trying to capture. You literally feel like a different energy level.
Yeah, and it also comes back to language. If you start speaking these languages, quando você vai falar português, quando tu puedes hablar español con ellos aquí, you become a different person. You become an Argentinian. You become a Brazilian. And I think that plays a big role is if you really practice interacting with the people there, you're going to feel it even more. Oh, you think you feel it now? Right? When you just arrive, you don't know the language yet. Just imagine in a month or two when you start having conversations with them, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel in Brazil. I feel like a lion in Brazil. I'm just like walking off the plane. You feel it. I don't know if it's the pheromones in the air or something. It's that heat. It depends on where you're at because the south is hot, but south is cold, and the north is hotter. But you feel it. In Argentina, I get off the plane. I'm like, boluda, boluda. I feel like I feel more Argentinian. I want to drink some mate. I want to sit in a park. I don't want to, they smoke a lot of cigs here. Maybe I want to, take a puff of a cig because they're all doing it. It's like Europe. It really, depending on where you land, you feel it. I'm a big believer in energies. And that's one of the things that I love about Latin America, the love and hate. There's hate there too. Don't forget there's things that I hate about Latin America, but there's the energy. You feel it. That's a great point that you just made.
Let me ask you a question as a fellow creator. Do you think if I put you in the same city for a full year, you'd be able to keep your same level of output of content? Like you'd be able to find like video concepts and stuff like that? Or do you feel like you need to keep traveling a bit?
That's a good hypothetical. A big part of my growth is I'm always moving. So at this stage, if you look at the biggest influencers that are travelers, they travel a lot. It's because everywhere you go, you get a new audience. I was just in Bolivia. I have a bunch of Bolivian followers now. I was in Peru. I have a bunch of Peruvian followers now. So it does contribute to the follower count is moving countries constantly. Yeah, it does help. But there's also a flip side to this is you're spreading your butter too thin, or I don't know what the saying is, but you're putting one egg in each basket, or whatever they say. You're too far spread, right? And with the influencers that's hyper focused, like I have a buddy, Brennan Del Mundo. Maybe you've seen him. He does all his content in Spanish in Argentina, only Argentina. He's an American, does only Argentinian content. He got He's at 400,000 followers, and he grew quicker than me.
What's his
400,000
name?
followers.
Brandon?
Brendan Del Mundo. And his whole thing was,
No, I
hey,
know the
I'm
OG. Who's that OG Argentina
OG.
guy?
OG Argentina. Christian Grossi? No, he's not an
No.
OG.
I don't have the names today. But anyway, so yeah, so you're saying you could, focus on one particular country type of thing.
Yeah, and you could grow by specializing in that country, for sure.
But your style, like, do you think where it's almost like it reminds me of like a um who am I thinking of? Like a Jerry Seinfeld type of thing. It's like, what's the deal with airplanes? Like, you know what I mean?
What an honor to be compared to Jerry Seinfeld. I actually like Seinfeld. I was just watching some Seinfeld episodes the other week. Yeah, it's sort of humorous in a way, right? Got to mix in a little bit of humor in it. People take it too literally sometimes. Yeah, sure, I'm being critical of something, but come on, just be a little bit lighter with it. Something that I really like about Bolivia. I like this about Peru. When you go to Peru, Lima, there's some beautiful neighborhoods, but there are some neighborhoods that just look like Mars, that look like Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of content now on my algorithm. It's Peruvians making fun of Peru.
Uh-huh.
And I love the self-deprecating humor. I love seeing a culture that has so much self-esteem that they can make fun of themselves. That's not something you see too much in Latin America because they have too much self-esteem in a lot of these countries. You don't really see it too much in Mexico. I've never seen a Mexican video where they, say, oh, this is not New York, this is not Switzerland, this is Mexico. And it's like one of the worst neighborhoods. I've never seen a video like that in Mexico, but I've seen a bunch of videos like that from Peru.
Yeah,
Right?
what they say is that they'll be like, imaginarte vivir en Suiza y perderte eso.
Yeah,
And it'll be
you
like,
see that, right?
like a guy, yeah, it'll be like, a guy like dancing at the stop sign, like throwing fire. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, if you lived in Switzerland, you'd miss out on this. That's like,
Exactly.
it'll be like Spider-Man. And like, have you seen this? Like, this is a Mexico thing, but the guy like dressed up as Spider-Man to be like swinging at the stop sign at the semáforo.
I see that in Colombia a lot. I've been seeing that in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, in Colombia.
Uh,
It's just like you realize all these things about just how the world like works differently. Even just something as simple as um, being able to sell fruit on the side of the road without a permit. You know.
I love it. I love that. I find some peace in the chaos sometimes, but to a certain degree.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the no rules, like an extreme version of, like, I like order. I love order, but I want a little bit of rule breaking. A good
Yeah.
example of this is I was in Germany and I was going crazy in Germany. I couldn't stand Germany. I wanted to leave Germany as quick as I could because you can't jaywalk in Germany. I have to stand there at that light where no car is crossing like an idiot because if you cross the street, you're socially shamed in Germany, right? Because they're so strict about the rules there. When I was in Italy, you can cross the street, no one's around, cross the street, stuff like that. To certain degrees, I like a little bit of, a little bit of wiggle room. I don't like places that are just, oh, you can't do this here. Bunch of Karens everywhere. I encountered that a lot in Europe, actually, Karens. That's one thing I like about Latin America is I consider Latin America the wild, wide west of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's still up for grabs. I mean, probably some indigenous groups will hate me saying that, but right. But at the end of the day, we're all mixed here in the Americas. I'm mixed. Everyone's mixed. No matter what color you are, you're in the Americas. Someone crazy thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a boat here, and you have that gene in you, unless you're like a very recent migrant, But we all have that, wild. It's not completely like everyone is different, right? But we all have that pioneering sort of aura to us that you don't find as much in the old world, aka Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about Latin America.
There's definitely a lot of business opportunity in Latin America. You need a lot of patience, but I'm sure everywhere you go with your observant perspective, like you can see like, oh, like why is there whatever? Why, why is there no pizza place in like the whole city or, that kind of thing. And you can see the opportunity.
Yeah, I've thought of this, and of course, business opportunities always come across me. But stick to Americans when it comes to business.
Mm-hmm.
I stick to people, not just Americans, just people that are familiar with American business. Because what happens is you see these opportunities in Latin America, and people have been seeing these opportunities for centuries. You think a guy 100 years ago didn't think the same thing you did? Like, oh, wow, in Brazil, they have like so much land. I should go there and grow something. Or, oh, in Mexico, there's all these opportunities. Or in Argentina, there's all these opportunities. What they forget is, one, bureaucracy. There's always going to be some bureaucrat, whether it's state, whether it's from the state or it's informal, whether it's some sort of mafia or something. There's all these bureaucrats everywhere that you have to pay off, that you have to essentially work around, right? And then two is the instability. Latin America, unfortunately, is incredibly unstable when it comes to finances. Even in Argentina, the only stable places maybe are like Uruguay and then one of the Guyanas. Guyana. There's one country, I think it's part of France, right, in South America. Even Mexico, they benefit a lot from being on our border with the largest economy in the world. And they are incredibly unstable because of, it sort of answers its own question. I don't need to talk about it. So people can come to Latin America and try to start businesses, but at the end of the day, the best place to start a business is the United States of America. Yeah. It's just the culture. There's a high trust culture, relatively low bureaucracy, and it's relatively stable. If you don't believe me, then go live in another country and you'll see for yourself. Because a lot of people don't leave the United States and they think we're all bad. No. Big part about leaving the United States was learning about how good the United States is.
There you go. A couple more questions, kind of just random stuff, but I definitely wanted to ask you about your relationship with the Passport Bros movement, and people maybe like mistake you with that, or they like lump you in with them, but it is definitely sort of a separate thing. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I banned the word passport bro on my comment sections. Straight on. I did not want to be associated with it because I don't need to leave the United States to date a beautiful woman. But a lot of these guys that are passport bros do. I don't think that's not the message that I have is, oh, I'm deprived, therefore I need to leave the United States. No, if you're deprived in the United States, you're going to end up deprived in these other countries. Maybe you can get something quick and easy. Maybe you can, there's laws that are different in these countries, right? But at the end of the day, you will feel emptiness. If you feel emptiness in the United States, you will feel emptiness abroad. So with these passport bros, I completely understand where they're coming from. Dating in the United States is hard, but it hardens you. We gotta be rich. We gotta be strong. We gotta be good looking. We gotta be stylish. We gotta have a nice car. And then you see some dude in Colombia, pulling a very beautiful woman, doesn't have a car, doesn't have a job, right? You see that all the time in Latin America. So they think, okay, I can go there and I'll be happy. You won't be happy because you're not happy with yourself first. So my message to the passport bros is, 1, get your money up. Get your money up. 2, get fit. You need to be fit. Okay, if you're upset and you're like not fit, then that's your fault. Okay, so those are the 2 main things: is get your money up, get fit, and then things will start to fall into place. Then start to challenge yourself. Try a quick little trip to Mexico, see how that goes. Right? Try to learn the language, interact with the locals, and then then you're a passport Papy. You're not like the passport bro, passport Papy. It's like you can ascend to the passport Papy status from the passport pro status.
Yeah. As much as in this episode your tone has kind of been like the US, you do learn how it's exceptional and how Latin America is kind of inefficient and so forth. But actually, a lot of your content kind of tells a different story where you're actually showing how much better it is than people probably realize. Where you're like, yo, like whatever, Mexico City, this is like nicer than any American city in a lot of respects. Or look at this random town in Argentina. Why are these houses nicer than half the US? This is a lot nicer than Illinois or something. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you actually kind of make things seem, um, it's like, guys, like you actually can live like a king here.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not all bad. As far as business, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, business is bad. If you want to do business, this is what I always say is making money like the United States is for making dollars. To have fun, Brazil. To live a lifestyle, Argentina. And you can, flip around the fun and the lifestyle ones however you want, right? That's just for me. But the United States is for making money. It's for making dollars. It's the best business environment. But as far as lifestyle goes, you can live a much better lifestyle where you can just walk to the grocery store. They don't even have the organic section because everything's organic. Walk to the supermarket, get organic food without having to be hyper paranoid. Go on a date with a beautiful woman, right? Make some friends at the park. Play fuchi volley at the beach with your buddies in Brazil. Drink some mate at the park in Argentina. These third places is something that we're deprived of in the United States, and I would love to help change that. Is we need third places. That's something that Latin America has over us. Is they have these third places where people they know each other from their neighborhoods. We don't have that culture. You can live that culture in select cities and select neighborhoods of the United States. Maybe if you're in Washington D.C. or New York City, but it's very uncommon. And that's something that Latin America is really good at. And another thing that people underestimate about Latin America is their technology. I'd say Brazil has better technology than the United States. When I was in Brazil, I did not withdraw one real from the ATM. I did not carry cash with me at any time. I never had a key on me. Why? Because one, everyone has a little máquina, the little machine that you can do tap to pay with your phone. Mm-hmm. And the places that I was staying in, you enter the apartment with either like a face scanner or a password and everything. It's just very streamlined country. The technology is incredible in Brazil and even Colombia. So yeah, a lot of people overlook those things. And there are nice areas too, as they think everything is like in Brazil, everything's a favela. No, they have really, really nice cities like Goiânia, I talk about a lot. Buddies with the governor there. He's running for president. And his city is incredibly advanced, incredibly safe, incredibly clean. And people don't think of that when they think of Brazil. Because why? Everyone only shows like, oh, I'm in the favela, look at me. All right.
Goiânia is the best run state.
Goiás. He's the governor of Goiás, and Goiânia is the capital of it, and it is he is the most popular governor in Brazil, and he is the only governor that was able to completely eradicate trafficking zones in his state. Every other state has a trafficking zone. Even Santa Catarina. Even when I went to Florianópolis, when I lived there, still had a favela war there. It's the safest place. No. So he's done an excellent job, and I think he's incredibly intelligent. He's a doctor, and I hope to see more people, whether they're left, right, center, whatever you are. I don't really care about the political spectrum. Just people that are good at governing a state, making it safe and welcoming for everyone.
One thing I was going to ask you, put on your philosophical hat here for a second, but hopefully I can communicate this right. It's like Latin Americans actually have a better lifestyle than Americans at kind of, it's like their upper middle class lives better than our upper middle class. Maybe our upper class lives better in the US than the Brazil upper class because, we don't need bulletproof
Blindado.
cars and stuff like that, the blindado. And, we don't have to hide in a gated compound necessarily, but the
Mhm.
upper middle class or the middle class, in a lot of ways in Latin America, they live better. They spend more time with family. They, do the barbecues, and they get together for every birthday, um, they have better food. They might have a maid. You can be definitely upper middle class. You're going to have a maid, where in the U.S. you're not. So a lot of these things, have you sort of noticed this as well?
100%. The upper middle class of Latin America lives far better than the upper middle class of the United States, and I'm assuming Canada. I'm assuming in Canada as well. And it comes down to the. I mean, at the end of the day, they're leveraging a lot of the inequality with the maids and stuff. It's really easy to have a maid because there's extreme poverty in these countries. Why do you think Brazil still has the favelas right next to Leblon? The reason they had those favelas right there initially is so that the servants could come down every morning and take their little kids on walks, right? So you do have this accessibility to extreme poverty, which in turn gives you, maids and services that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford as
Yeah,
a
it doesn't
upper
even have
middle
to be
class.
extreme poverty. Like, I can get a maid in Mexico. They're not like in poverty. They're just.
They're not rich, as someone who's if you're upper middle class in the United States, you don't have a full-time maid. That would be
Yeah, yeah,
incredibly expensive. You would need to be
right.
a rich American for a full-time maid. Maybe you can afford a cleaning service once a week, but you can't afford a full-time maid like you could in Colombia or Mexico. So a piece of it is part of that inequality. There are people that live like pretty poor, and you can leverage that, and that's what the upper middle class of these countries leverage. Before anyone comes and hates me for being a gringo, oh, you get a poor maid. Well, okay, well your upper middle class does that, so that's what's been happening for so long. But what you said about they get together for the birthdays, the family. Um, that's a big point. Is the family structure in our country is broken. We we grow up in such segmented families. I can't even tell you the last time I saw my cousins. Right? Uh, in in Mexico, how many cousins do they have? They can't even count. I was just in Peru with my friend. She can't even count how many cousins she has. She has 50, 60 cousins. Every day we were seeing a new group of cousins. It's incredible. They get to be born with friends. Those lucky,
Yeah,
these lucky friends.
yeah, yeah.
You're essentially born. Here are your friends. They look kind of like you in their, your blood. Here you go. They're so lucky. Of course, I would be happier if I was born into a family like that. And us Americans, we're not born into families like that. That's a big green flag with with South America, with Latin America is the family. You see it a lot in Mexico too. Ooh, they got big families there. Argentina a little bit less, but in Argentina they are very good with friendships. Their friendships mean a lot. But Brazil, yeah, their families, uh, almost all these countries. That's a very good point you had there. That's a big for me. If I want to raise my children, I would want to raise them around family and around core family values. And that's something that Latin America, regardless of how woke you can say it's gotten, that's something they don't forget. That's something we've forgotten, and we need to revive that in the United States for sure.
So where do you kind of see yourself in the future? How do you think you're going to split your time?
Definitely spend more time in the United States. I miss my country. I miss my people, and I love Argentina. I love Brazil for visits, but I can't live in Brazil. I went a little. I got a little cabin fever in Brazil, um, and yeah, just I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna be traveling less for sure, and focusing more on uh, select places, and it's still, of course, traveling places. But I've been living a crazy life where it's like a new place every month for a few years.
Hmm.
It's getting a little crazy. So definitely going to start having like a station place. I haven't picked my cities 100%, It could be Argentina, it could be Colombia, and of course based in the United States. But definitely gonna do more. I'm definitely gonna find some bases in the next phase of Passport Papi.
I can tell you're more of like a tier A city guy, but you do a little bit of tier B, but you're definitely more
Tier A.
you like the more like digital nomad hotspots. You like your Medellin, you like your Buenos Aires, you
I
like
like my
your
rappy at 4 a.m. I like my conveniences. I like, my back kind of hurts. Let me walk down the street, see if I can get a massage. My teeth, I need to get my teeth checked. Let me walk around the corner there and see if there's a dentist there. I like that. That's a big reason. We didn't really cover it, but a big reason why I live in Latin America as well as the health is that the health in our country is incredibly poor. The doctors, let me tell you, I was back in the United States and I had to go see a doctor, see a dermatologist, because I had like some rash. I was like, what the hell is this rash? I go, and let me tell you, setting up the appointment was such a headache. I had to call in and set up a time and date on over the phone, write it down like it's 1995, right? And then I go there, I wait in the waiting room for like 20 minutes, and I see the doctor. The doctor looks like a complete idiot. I'm sorry. She looked like an idiot. I'm talking to a dermatologist that has bad skin, that has messed up nails. Right, and then she sees me.
Dude, yeah, you are Seinfeld.
how are you a dermatologist and your skin is bad? She takes a little test of me, kicks me out after 5 minutes. 3 months later, mind you, she didn't fix my problem. I went to Brazil after that. I saw the best dermatologist in Brazil. I paid him $200. This is the top guy. No health insurance, no nothing. Top guy, $200. He was like, I will fix your problem. I was like, yes, sir. Fix my problem. He cured me, right? After 2 visits, he whatever rash I had, it was gone, right? He ran all these tests on me. He went over the top. He was like, we ran this test. You're all good. Everything's good. You're perfect now. I'm like, okay, thank you. I had forgotten about the American doctor at that point. A few months later, I get a notification, some mail. I got 2 separate bills from that dermatologist in the United States. One bill for her service, which she charged me $300 for 5 minutes. My insurance, the scam insurance of the United States was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like a cartel basically. They're like, oh yeah, we negotiated with her. Now you only have to pay $150 out of pocket. Okay, pay her $150 out of pocket for seeing me for 5 minutes. Then I also had to pay a separate lab in a completely different state. I had to pay them $700. They never even told me about this lab. And my insurance came up to me. They were like, oh, okay, yeah, no, you only have to pay $400. I paid $450. Mind you, I have insurance that I pay over $200 a month for. I paid $450 to not get anything fixed. And it was a complete disaster. With my dermatologist in Brazil, I got to message him, WhatsApp. Have you done this with your doctor yet? You WhatsApp message them, you send them a picture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're like, oh, look at this, doctor. What's wrong with this doc? You send them a pic. Like, oh, well, come in through the office tomorrow. It's $40. I love that. You can't do that in the States. You can't do that. You can't WhatsApp message your doctor. So if I were to say Latin America, the benefits of living in Latin America, number 1 for me is food. Number 2 is health. I get to stay on top of my health so easily. It's so streamlined. 3, of course, the lifestyle, walking around, being able to live in walkable areas where people have a very, it's a vibrant energy regardless of what country you're in. Depends on the neighborhood, but they're vibrant. And the 4, of course, the dating, passport bros. They're not completely off the mark with the dating is better down here, but altogether. But if you put it all together, you have a good life. I'm spoiled. People tell me, "Oh, you're a brat." Yeah, I'm a brat. I'm 100% a brat. Of course, I'm a brat. I get whatever food I want. I text my doctor pictures of myself. He tells me whatever's wrong with me. I have a masseuse coming to my house whenever I want. Go on dates with beautiful women. Of course, this will make you a brat. So yeah, whatever. It's people say you're spoiled. Of course, Latin America will spoil you. It will spoil you. And there's a ton of people that are also locals in Latin America that are spoiled and they just don't recognize it yet.
Hmm. Have you had any reverse culture shock when you go back to the US and try to maybe bring back some of your habits from Latin America and it doesn't transfer back?
Corruption, paying off a guy, right? You try to pay off a cop in the United States. Oh no, you can't do that. Maybe if you have a couple 100,000, maybe, but it's just this goes back to business. The United States is so good at business biz because we are relatively good at following the rules. We have laws, and for the most part, we're law abiding. To be corrupt in the United States, you need to be incredibly wealthy. The corruption in Latin America is a lot more accessible. And it's the cops will mess with you because they know about the corruption. When you're in Mexico, the cops will try to rob you. And they'll say, "Oh, just pay us 70, all the money in your wallet and we'll leave you alone." Right? So, in the United States, I'm just like, I want to do this one thing. Like I want to get into this place, or I want to it doesn't have to be like legal corruption. It's just like, little things here and there. It's like, I want to like enter this part of the museum. I can just pay off this guy, right? Right. You can't do that in the States. You can't pull up and just be paying people off like you can in other countries. And that's not even just like an illegal perspective. It's just like on the lowest level. It's like, oh, well, are guests allowed? No guests aren't allowed. Well, here's $20. You can't really do that as much in the United States. So that's culture shock number one. Culture shock number two is just is the freedom. I live in Texas, right? We can protect ourselves there. You can't protect yourselves in these other countries. We have the Second Amendment in the United States. We're the longest running democracy in the world. You look at these other countries, they literally copied our Constitution. They left out one amendment, and look at where they're at now. They always have some dictator, some overbearing power at any point throughout their history, multiple times throughout their history. You can use any country as an example: Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay. They always have a dictator. It's because the people can't fend for themselves. So this mindset of like, oh, we are self-sufficient, we can protect ourselves, that's American. That's a very much American thing. So I do get this reverse culture shock, like, oh, someone's robbing me. Oh, well, I can protect myself. You can't really protect yourself in these other countries as well. You need to be a cop or something, or you need to hire security. So that's another culture shock.
Yeah, I think maybe social is a big one as well. I feel like it's super easy to get people together for a beer in Latin America. It's super easy to convince people to stay past midnight. And in the US, if you can convince people to come out, which is pretty tough, very tough getting them to stay past midnight and make the night of it.
Yeah, staying up late. I'm in Argentina right now. You know what time they start going out in Argentina? You may have experienced this.
Tell them.
3 a.m. That's when they go to the boliche. They eat their dinner at 11 p.m. That's when they eat their dinner. They wrap up dinner after midnight. They start pre-gaming around 1. And then they go to the club at 3. They leave the club around 7. Then they have breakfast.
I can't handle that, man. I can't handle that. I just, I don't know. That's extreme. That's extreme.
It's very European as well, right? You're familiar with Europe.
Yeah. Some places do start pretty late, especially in Spain. Dude, random question before I forget: is healthcare in Argentina pretty good? Because I know in Brazil it's quite good, and Colombia is good, Mexico's good. How is it in Argentina as a foreigner? Is it pretty good with the WhatsApp and the paying cash and all that stuff?
It's great. It's the same. In fact, it's probably even a little better. because Argentina, they have free college education. A lot of medical students come down from Brazil for free education here. So they have a lot of doctors. I'm friends with tons of doctors here because it's very easy to. It's not easy to become a doctor. You just don't have to pay to become a doctor. It's hard. They have some of the best universities here.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
Like
incredible.
the most dentists per capita or something.
I didn't know that.
No, I think that's Brazil. I think that's Brazil.
Oh yeah, Brazil. They have great teeth in Brazil. They have a lot of. I have like 4 friends that are dentists in Brazil. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. So we'll get to wrapping up, but I really like what you're trying to communicate, and I'm sure your content will kind of evolve as you evolve as a person. I really think there's something for everyone in Latin America. I think there's obviously something for the digital nomad, the guy in their 20s or early 30s. I think there's something there for families as well. It's easier to have big families. I mean, less, more freedom. You can homeschool, all these benefits for families, and then retirees as well. There's definitely something for retirees in Latin America to stretch their Social Security and their pensions and have better health care, as we've talked about here as well. So I'm sure your content, if you stick with it, would probably reflect some of that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a big part of my page is opening up these opportunities for people that want to visit Latin America. And I make Latin America more accessible. I also do one-on-one calls with prospective Latin American migrants. A lot of people call in about Brazil or Argentina. The whole point of Passport Papy is opening the doors of not just Latin America, just the whole world, wherever I go, whether it's Latin America or Europe, opening the doors to the world and helping people understand what it's actually like living there. And if they decide to move there, helping them get settled there, getting connected with a trusted lawyer. That's a big thing. A trusted lawyer, not getting scammed by your lawyer, buying property, making investments. You need help. You need local help. And that's where I come in. So go ahead and keep up with my page, passportpapi.usa on Instagram. We have a TikTok now. We have a YouTube. We're posting more on X. And then we have a website, passportpapi.travel. And I post any of the opportunities and information regarding services on those platforms.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll be sure to link that in the description of this podcast. So guys, wherever you're listening to this, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc., there's a link in the description to Passport Papy's profiles, and you can check them out there.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me, Vance. It's an honor.
Yeah, man, I'm really happy that we finally did this. I hope you start posting on Twitter, because I know a lot of the guys would love to meet you, would love to interact with you, that kind of thing. And it's pretty good for arranging meetups in LATAM cities and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we can talk offline about that. So yeah, this has been another episode of the MyLatinLife Podcast. Again, Passport Papy. Please subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao for now.